All right. This is exciting. Hello. 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 Hey, everybody. How's it going? Everybody? Hello. I know you. You're a person that I know. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Rozz-Tox. Thank you so much for being here tonight for this very special edition of the SPECTRA Reading Series. My name is Ryan Collins. I'm the Executive Director of the Midwest Writing Center. We are the Quad Cities' only literary arts nonprofit public library just down the road. This actually, I was thinking about it. This is the 10th year that we've been doing the SPECTRA poetry or the SPECTRA Reading Series. We started in September 2012. And it's so good to still be doing it, and particularly good to be doing it here. We love this place. For Rozz-Tox for hosting this event and all the SPECTRA events ever. We love you guys. It's really fitting we have these brilliant writers from the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa here, because all year long, Ben just bringing amazing acts from all over the world. I think the artists from that time, and there's more coming. It's just extraordinary, like the things that happen here and the shows that happen here. It's just such a one of a kind. It's one of a kind in the Quad Cities. I think it's one of a kind anywhere else too. So like, get some good food, get some good drinks, settle in. It's going to be a very, very dope reading. We've got 2 local readers. One of whom we haven't seen read in a while, and we're so happy to have her back. And then we've got 2 brilliant writers from the International Writing Program. I'm just going to be hosting the first part of the program, and then we'll turn things over to those very excellent people. Shout out also to the German American Heritage Center, our other partner in this event. Give it up thank you for making this possible and connecting with cool people. And like, yeah, we've had the IWP here several times. The Writing Center has partnered with the Figgy for a few events. And we've had some great events. We've had like interpretive dance with some of the readers. We've had bands play with the readers. It's always been like a real highlight of the fall to welcome IWP. And it's been one thing that we really sorely missed around here. So I'm so grateful that you all can be with us. Yeah, this is fantastic. So I'm not going to blather on too much. I'm going to get into the goods because that's why we're all here, is for the goods. So I'm just going to introduce the first of our 2 openers. And some of you know this person, probably. Her name is Sarah Elgatian. Yes, you can give it up and clap and do all of those things. It's just short reason. To the Writing Center and makes a lot of things possible. She's also a first-generation writer with a lot of questions. She facilitates a bi-monthly workshop group and the bi-weekly literary web series Write More Life, both for the Midwest Writing Center. Among other places, her work has appeared in Crab Fat, The Holder magazine, and the Iowa Writers House print anthology We the Interwoven. She likes bright colors, dark coffee, loud music, and long sentences. Please welcome to the stage, Sarah Elgatian.
Hey, that was humbling. Thanks, everyone. My mom asked me to announce that her family is from Probstein when I said that the German American Heritage Center was co-host. That was new information to me, and then she very badly counted. She heard this live stream. Oh yeah, this is live streaming. Center. If you've got folks at home you would like to check this way, it'll be there forever. The internet will live on.
Where is Probstein?
Germany?
I
know. I learned this today. I'll ask later. This is that anthology, and here I go. Anique had a face like a knotted tree. You could hear dust on her tongue when she spoke, and she spoke like a crow, flat and shrill and always half yelling. Her life was built like a folktale with poverty, war, running for her life, refugees, exotic islands, and a mail-order marriage to a man she didn't know. She held a country between her shoulders and 10 children in her womb. A life of survival taught her mind over matter in all things. Her morning sickness she treated by playing cards. Her hunger she treated by turning rocks into dice. I remember her in her small kitchen shaped like a crooked L. She had 3 chairs at a lopsided table covered by a clear plastic sheet and a pile of junk mail. This is where Anique sat and shuffled cards and drank tiny cups of thick coffee. Anique was Armenian, a survivor, who was born during a genocide, learned to read and write at a refugee camp in Syria, and came of age in Batista's Cuba. She had brown olive skin, thick, coarse black hair, and an undisguisable accent. But I only knew her seated in that chair by the door with a dummy-toss cup tilted toward her and a stack of frayed red-back playing cards in front of her. Grandma Anique refused to speak English. She'd sooner speak Spanish to her grandchildren than anything but insults in their native language. She spoke English fine through her thick accent at the corner store or with the neighbors. But with her family, but never with her family. I can respect that now, though I never learned Armenian or Spanish. So we'd sit around her tiny table and play the only game she knew how to play, Crazy Eights. That's like Uno, but with regular cards. Grandma cheated, cackling with her empty mouth wide when we had to draw great stores of cards and when her hand emptied. She was not kind, and she did not like jokes. Survivors of genocide are not soft people. They are not warm and welcoming. Trauma did not create cookie baking, blanket knitting grandmothers. Anique accepted nothing short of perfection, and we were terrified of the venom that came through her frantic foreign yells. She didn't share stories or dessert with her grandchildren, but she did love us. We didn't understand it, of course, but it was all she had to give. She tried to teach me Armenian from an ancient workbook she used to learn English while stranded in Cuba during her 14-year layover between Armenia and the United States. She brought photo albums to the kitchen full of delicate, poorly colorized photographs of her in her youth wearing stiff tea-length ivory dress, hair carefully coiffed. These, I suspect, were the photos used to sell her to the first Armenian man in America who could pay for passage to Ellis Island. Many men, she told me, proposed marriage to her in Cuba, but she was the oldest sibling and she had to bring her family to the US. After the first time I finished the food she put in front of me, grilled cheese in what I called a sandwich maker for 20 years, she started making it as soon as I arrived at her house. She always bullied me about my squinty eyes. Can you see, Zadie? You blind? My eyes are tiny anime half moons identical to her own. She'd grab my nose in tight pinches and cackle, "You lie, Pinocchio? Can you smell California?" The knob between her knuckles mirrored the drooping nose of her youth. My faint mustache and dark circles under my eyes matched hers, and she mocked them relentlessly. Thrilled when I ate her food, she called me fat and took handfuls in my potbelly. This kind of love is not obvious to children, but it is love. It is love like armor, and so I don't want to deny my grandmother when people look at me. Her children were embarrassed by their dark skin and their poverty and their parents' thick accents. They changed the way they pronounced their last name. They called themselves Eastern European. They learned to eat canned vegetables and drink soda. They married blonde-haired and blue-eyed without exception. Every step toward normal was a step closer to forgetting. Only one of my cousins could speak to my grandma, and she was born with her father's coloring, blonde and blue. Her skin is darker than his, but I wonder, does she feel the way I do? Growing up in Iowa, the only people who looked like my grandparents were related to me. No one else had dark skin, coarse black hair, or nose like a bird of prey. My dad let people assign his ethnicity to him. At the family restaurant, he was Greek. At the pizza place, he was Italian. There was one Lebanese woman whose husband was white and worked at John Deere who likely still believes my family is from Lebanon. My dad shared his office with a Mexican woman for 2 years who spoke Spanish to him. My dad doesn't speak Spanish. I don't want to do that. I want to own my grandmother's squiggly alphabet and quit tweezing my face. I want to tell my uncle who fears Syrian refugees that those same Syrians gave his parents refuge. I want to see the mountain prominently displayed in every Armenian's home and call it my own. I had no concept of Mount Ararat's importance or co-symbolism when I first saw Armenia on a map. I only knew it as the centerpiece of the Armenian home. A painting of Big Ararat and Little Ararat cuddling against a perfect blue sky. I got excited when the news anchor gestured toward the region. Then he said war, terrorism, oil. The Near East, it turned out, was not everyone's mantelpiece paradise. My whiteness may be the greatest gift my father ever gave me, but it feels like a lie. Dad said his family was from part of the former Soviet Union. True. He said Mediterranean. Not true. He gets stopped at airports. I always thought assimilation was akin to lying. I failed to recognize the survival skills my father inherited from his parents. My grandfather, during a long march from one death camp to another, collapsed skeletal in the desert and was left for dead. Who was he to correct them? Who was I to tell my father to call his homeland the Middle East if careful phrasing kept him safe? Still, it's taken work to uncover the culture Annie carried with her when she could carry nothing else. I feel an emptiness in my stomach and a block in my throat when I realize I will never have answers. I don't know how my grandparents survived, only that they valued survival above all else. I'm afraid to ask my cousins if they feel as lost, off-white, and hungry as I do. I can't ask because it doesn't matter. We can't get our culture back. I feel my grandmother's mountain, her cross, her 36-letter alphabet in my heart, but I have no access to them. When I go someday to Armenia with my light hair and pink cheeks, I will tell the natives that I'm like them and pray they tell me what that means. It's a cruel century-long joke that has created this new diaspora. Here we struggle to gather, thirsting for our grandparents and their stories, whitewashed, tongueless, and unable to make pilaf. We search anxiously in movie credits and on maps for signs of our people holding Braffy, Cher, System of a Down, the Kardashians close to our hearts, scared to have white children who won't know the resilience in their blood. But we go back. We hang paintings of Ararat over our own mantles, and we read fortunes from coffee grounds. We trade recipes with cousins and forward news stories about chess champions and rebellion. I'm not alone in taking pride in coming from a people whose whole history is of grit, art, and survival. But this awe that burns inside me doesn't mean I'm Armenian enough. Rumor has it that you're not really Armenian if you don't speak the language. I don't, but I keep that mountain always in my sight. Thank you.
You got one more time for Sarah. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Sarah. So, okay. Our next reader, super excited to welcome back to the stage after too long. I don't know, it doesn't matter how long, too long. That's the answer. Holly Griffith is a writer and an artist living in the Quad Cities. She's also performed here for Spectra at Garage 3, the beloved Garage 3, which, okay, so our alderman for where we are now has a house with 3 garages, and he for like what, a summer or like a year, had some of the coolest like readings and comedy performances. It was so dope. So, yeah. Like they were like touring comedians. It was just like the weirdest thing, and it was just in a garage. It was a thing. I just want to share that with you. Okay, like, oh, this one of this Rock Island place. This is a very cool spot, but there are other also cool things. Shout out Dylan Parker. So Garage 3, sorry, Quercus and the Midwest Writing Center. Her most recent poetry performance was at the Tea House Theatre in London, England. Outside of writing, she is an artist with a recent work showing in Tuscany, Italy, and she was an awarded artist at the 2021 London Art Biennial. Please welcome Holly Griffith. Holly.
Hey guys, this hour's on a bear with me. It's really good to be back. I can count on 2 hands the times I've really gone out for social situations in the last couple of years. So I'm delighted to be here.
My kids have come out. It's the first time. They're all teenagers. First time I got it together. Oh, and you know, yeah, I was gonna say other stuff. I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna dig in.
Yeah.
Let's dig in. Let's do this. I got two. This first one is The Last Vacation. Let's see, right? I found out, by the way, this year that I need bifocals. So I'm struggling. I would not get them. I'm refusing to get them. I'll wait until I'm probably 45. So The Last Vacation. Dad can't breathe, but we as a family have decided to take him to Florida anyway. Oxygen tank and all. Florida will relax you, Mom says. I brood in the corner. When is Florida relaxed anymore? When we arrive, my mother does everyone a favor and starts to do laundry. She immediately shrinks my new vacation pants. I see Dad in the corner, hunched over, mouth agape like a dying fish. Don't worry, I bark. I'll just get new fucking pants. And despite knowing better, I whip my tiny pants across the room. My mother stops, her bone china hands clutching a bottle of Tide, violet eyes ever shrinking in water. Everyone erupts with opinions on my handling of the pants situation. I snarl, backed into a corner, and tell everyone to mind their business. Mind your goddamn business. My father shuts off the oxygen and stands up. His glare comes from me. I retreat and self-sanction in my rented 2017 Ford Fusion, where I put on Peter Gabriel so that I can expedite crying in order to return post-haste and proceed with family time, pants or no. When I re-enter Ground Zero, my brother and his girlfriend are kissing. They kiss and kiss and kiss. When they come up for air, they tell me how glad they are that my ex-partner didn't come on the trip. They didn't like him. He wasn't good to me. I'll find someone new. And then they submerge for more kissing. They babe each other constantly. Babes and smooches all around. Oh, babe, have you seen my top? Want to go for a dip, babe? On day 2, they go for a drive in their red convertible and nearly run over a turtle on the road. When they get back, his girlfriend says, hey, babe, tell everyone about the turtle. I listen while my brother, in the starring role of Babe, regales the family with the banal epic of the split second that he swerved to miss a turtle. When the story's done, Babe and his girlfriend laugh together and kiss once more. They want to be the only two in love in the entire world. And I want to puke right into the pockets of my teeny pants. Later on the bench, my 13-year-old tells me that if he can't find love, I'll never find love. Or actually, that's backwards. Later on the bench, my 13-year-old tells me that if I can't find love, he'll never find love either. I eat a lobster roll and think how good it might be if it gave me diarrhea and I could have someone nurse me back to health. Then I take my child's hand. Love will flock to him, I say, and deservedly so. We sit together and watch the waves. He refuses to take his shirt off in the sun so the world won't see his breasts. Don't be afraid, I say. But he spends the rest of the day in a wet shirt. And when his sister accidentally kills a crab while digging in the sand, I hear one say to the other, we don't belong in Florida. I text my ex, how are you doing? 23 hours later, I get, good, slept most of the day. I wish I wasn't such a lovebird, mating for life with every rotten heart. My mother loads us into the car while my father stays behind to sleep. She takes us to Cocoa Beach, and it's 100 degrees. And when we get to Cocoa Beach, my mother has a surprise. We're going shopping and then out to eat. So don't go in the water, just look. So we all stand fully clothed at the edge of the Atlantic, sweating and fuming and ready to go shopping instead of the beach. Our Celtic feet turn red and melt like lava over our rubber sandals. Joyous beach people run by us, clad in almost nothing, running into blue-green glorious waves. We are going everywhere, but we're never going where we are. The next day, we schlep out to the Kennedy Space Center, but we arrive 30 minutes before the center closes for the day. We rush around, cramming in as much NASA and space as we can stomach. I buy socks with rockets on them and dehydrated ice cream for my father. My mom takes a picture of me and my brother standing by a lunar module. Mission Control to Apollo. Yes, this is Apollo. Go ahead, Mission Control. I love you, babe. Remember that time I almost ran over a turtle? On the way back, my mother almost hits an alligator in the road. When we walk in the door, my father is pink-cheeked and awake, no tubes from his nose, and his eyes look as grim as they should be. The whole of us throw out any preconceived plans, and we walk onto the beach together, surrounding my father, his limbs like wind chimes. Alongside us, the crabs and clams, the little fishes seen and big fish, unknown in mighty fathoms. The sun sets over the ocean, over us, and I watch my father teach my 13-year-old about the sea. Their hands buried in sand together as mine were nigh on yesterday with his. Just a couple of men in pants that fit, breathing in and breathing out until the tide comes close, until the lights go out. And in the dark that night, I dream that I am strapped to a rocket screaming apologies to my mother. Yeah. This next one, and actually one of my kids picked out. So Madeline, this is for you. It's 10 minutes, so hang in there, guys. I'll make sure I can see it. My eyes don't work. Prius and Suburbans drive through and pass microelements from agricultural areas. Feeble villages of rumpled farm homes sharing pea gravel drives, brown wood siding, plenty coat steep, casing dirt porches with maple hutches, cached broken bell jars of pickled pig seeds and cloudy cucumber juice. In there, how many children are fixed and cornered in pale blue rooms underneath rusty edged linens and a pageantry of pink roses, granny sheets over popper mattresses above corroded springs, where they lie, how greasy their cowlick, how saggy their breeches to match, thin skin between gray eyes, who is fumbled and touched and shapeless as a result. Are their elbows stained from leaning on disintegrated fences, keeping in a spotted cow for daily milk just south of the coop, with a single chicken that serves eggs for breakfast and its neck for dinner? Who is jiggled? Who is torn? Are their knees scorched from homemade oval rugs, woven with cow shit bibs and t-shirts from supple teenage girls of the county, of the time? Behind walls and behind walls is there a child who makes it off the filthy tit, off the farm, out the lethargic village and into the world. Somewhere is a man corralled and leveraged by the mass of his knowledge on the indigenous customs of anything in which he has zero experience. The porta potty opens, the porta potty door opens, then a black smoke comes out. Here comes this man. He is the electric jerk off. His pants hemmed every hour on the hour to accommodate the fluctuation and variation of his height, fully stoked to audience and keep with the quality of compliments. The electric jerk-off opens his mouth in a way that makes me think electric jerk-off serves as a nom de plume, or more pointedly, a euphemism for the inflammatory name of Gary. He steps up to the microphone. The mic is neither on nor there altogether, and announces to touch, I suppose now, is to be either passionate or diseased. There are protocols for skin on skin, usually unaccepted, and therefore all are at ease. As we are all expecting a touchless experience, the silver knows it is sterling, the sippers know they must sip, and all else waits to be marked in a ledger as misfortunate connectors, after which they will be swept away to lower ranks, given drafts with foamy tops in a place where ale is not so sure its origin, and thus its drinkers unclear and accepting of cloudy expectations. The crowd instantly actualizes itself as an audience. Low mumble emanation, friends saying to friends, do you know that guy? Isn't that Gary? Brave laugh from the back of the crowd belts out, that guy's name is Gary. But the electric jerk-off handles mammoth women in off-white tights and black saddled shoes with spaghetti strap tees that say, I woke up like this. These strapping chicks eat hemp protein and practice judo takedowns on each other in commandeered kindergarten gymnasiums, rehearsing for insurrections against the electric jerk-off. Thus, they beat the hell out of the offending individuals into a paste, in fact, scrape the troublemakers into a cup, and provide the jerk-off a fun dipstick to finish off insurgent remnants. Electric jerk-off raises his head, looking for other would-be rivals riders. Electric jerk-off's blowhard constitution is viable. His cheeks are high, his shoulders are low, his ass is wide. He continues, in the hollows where hookers hook to young preteens who run like stupid bitches on fire full of syphilis. You won't mind? Try my idea. Do it this way. Do it my way. Or a great jerk-off raffle befall you all. In long halls, we come to heavy tables and realize too late that 2 of the 4 legs are missing, and we sit anyway, holding our drinks out of resentment, a little tighter than we otherwise would, and call out wonton fuckers for not being woodworkers. If we get a wild hair, drinks are thrown, stands are taken, but legs remain unrepaired. Focus all and eat your chips. A defiant old man screams from a balcony, it's just a table. And the raunchy off-white, tighted, black-shoed bitches launch into action and trebuchet the old man's ass into a black and blue cosmos. But I observed the crowd was starting to turn, a bit convinced by the table analogy, and people they want to belong, with their operatic sopranos cracking glass in their hands, cutting their palms. A counterfeit woman in a flowered housecoat stained with country fried chicken in the con of solidarity yells, I like chips! That's right, ma'am. The electric jerk-off pandered, eat your chips indeed. Isn't freedom wonderful? You can cry when you learn that we use guns to save people from guns we give to people trying to kill the people we're saving who also have our guns. But no one ever said life was fair, or that you'd never have to sell a piece of leg in order to buy a lover. The stats will be black when the cost of getting took is offset by the cost of the taking. A youth with a slick backside parted undercut began to chant, eat your chips, eat your chips. A nondescript crowdie pops up with a sign that reads, I love carrots. But the crowdie is consumed post-haste into a wasteland of the popular determinism of the perspective. What imbecile loves carrots over chips? The electric jerk-off persuaded. The crowd responded with a collective loss of mind and a full system dump of anything they learned postpartum until present date. Voices rose higher, eat your chips. And the electric jerk-off's like, chips, am I right? He held his palms out like Christ. The throngs responded with the same exuberance as if the jerk-off had said something shrewd and elegant, even germane. Their feet thundered, their feet stomped. Limbs shot out in all directions. Eat your chips. The crowd, previously wary of Gary's and the like, now fully recognized the jerk-off qualities. And with every baseless assertion he made, they went there with him. Mighty chants formed the crowd into beat crowd. One fruitless, vain voice in mass recitation, duplicating images, burned shadows of the electric jerk-off. Eat your chips, a woman ripped off her shirt. Eat your chips, a child cocked his piece. Eat your chips. That's right. Are you a rotting apple lying under wide branches, observing your former youth above you, watching what you could have been, bobbing with crisp skin in the wind? Do you want to be good for cider or good for pie? Revel in my charge. Be under my commands. He took his pants off by dismantling the ass pockets and mused, I don't need pants really when the breeze is so far north. It was at this time remaining dissenters of the assembly shrunk from the streets of slogans, shivered and shook before collecting loose blonde hair from the rally floor. Sticky blonde hair they crocheted into faux turtlenecks, otherwise aptly known as dickies, in order to protect their necks from imminent hangings. Once dickified, they grew quiet and looked as much like the scene as they did the scenery. Milksops and babies receding. 2 white buses pulled up to the curb, one driven by a 16-point buck, a beautiful stag, sitting upright, both hooves 10 and 2 on the wheel. The other driven by a doe in a delicate pink pillbox hat, with just a tiny spray of blood on the rim. Their eyes were all black, dilated for full panorama. In the crowd, a woman shot a stiletto out of a cannon, and at the sound, the deer hooves maneuvered the crank, and the bus doors opened. The electric jerk-off directed, friends, hear my voice, which could be so easily your own voice, and load onto these buses. Let the deer drive you to the river. And people loaded themselves and their children, now so frenzied and vigilant about the potential opposition of the Eat Your Chips movement. Their chants turned to hostile cries and vicious wails, their faces a mangle of grimaces. I sat on a second hill just above the pit to watch the deer haul ass and the like to the river, raising the ground into nothing along the way. A bird landed on me, shit on me, then left. I think about when I am 5, and my father and mother give me my first bike, electric blue with a white seat and no training wheels. Atop a great hill on a sidewalk, upon my bike, my father places me. I'm excited but scared. I look down and down the hill, concrete and grass and oaks and people in living rooms watching my first suicide mission. I know they're in there waiting for bones to shoot through my shins. My mother is inside too, and I think she thinks I'm going to die today. But I trust my father. His head is close to my ear. Remember, keep a tight grip. Keep your handlebars straight. Keep pedaling. So many things to keep. Are you ready? I'm ready, Dad. He lets go, barely pushing because the gravity of the great hill will do the work. He's yelling, keep pedaling. And I'm pedaling. I'm pedaling. My hair is everywhere. Everything around me is colorful. Keep pedaling. My heart. Keep pedaling. My heart. I'm almost to the bottom. My dad gives one last yell. Sweet pea, don't eat the chips. And suddenly I forget all the keeps. My handlebars wobble. I let go. I don't pedal. And I fly into the neighborhood air. I slide to a stop, staggered, and come up bloody. Still at the top of the hill, my father stands far above me. Are you okay? Now I stand straight, achieved, but injured, and say, that's enough for today.
Yeah. We did that earlier too.
So much. Thank you to Rozz-Tox, to the German American Heritage Center, and to Midwest Writing Center. We are so thrilled to be here. And thank you to everybody who's coming and pursuing and consuming and observing and being affected by art and looking at stuff that's weird or learning stuff that you've never tried before. So thanks for being here. Anyway, our first writer, Tunay Onder, is an essayist, curator, performer, and she's from Germany. She's the co-author of the art book Migrantstadel, Migrant Town, and co-editor of the anthology Untitled Verdicts, both in 2016. Her transdisciplinary work, which merges literature, curatorial practice, and performance, has recently been supported by a grant from the German Foundation for Performing Arts. She participates in the IWP Fall Residency, courtesy of the Max Kata Foundation. Thanks, Tunay.
Yeah.
I'm completely unprepared because Josie just, she didn't tell us that we are in this freaky club. Otherwise, I was, because we had a lot of readings and panels the last weeks, and it was never a place like this. I mean, yeah, I would like to make a noise performance or concert, but now I have to read. I Googled a little bit about this place, and I found out that in the recent time here there was this noise artist from Kenya, Duma.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really like, wow, because they're now in Munich and I missed it. And then I saw it here and I was like, oh my God, this place is Rozz-Tox. Rozz-Tox. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's really cool. Okay, introduction. What do I want to say? Okay, first of all, of course, I have to thank you all who somehow get us here into this very beautiful place. Of course, the IWP, we are 2 persons now today from the International Writing Program. Thanks, Josie Neumann, for inviting us here. And you are doing your job really proper, because we arrived in Iowa on the 21st of August, and I remember after a journey of 35 hours or so, we just made our first step into the hotel, and Josie was sitting in the lobby And she was like, do you? She was just fixing this event here. And I was like, yeah, I do everything. Just, I want to sleep now, but I do. So she fixed this here in the first minute. Yeah, thank you for this. That's good. I'm very happy. Okay, oh my God. Okay. Sorry, I have technical problems. Okay, I wanted to I just don't have Microsoft, and I opened it with Microsoft, and it does not work. Just kidding. Okay, maybe before I read some text, the thing is, I have to confess that since we are here in Iowa, we always have to say our names, then what genre we are writing, and then where we are coming from. And the first thing, the name, okay, is easy. I tell my name, and then the genre, there the problem begins, because I don't have a genre. I write things and I try to find out what it is. Maybe, yeah, it's fragments and monologues and absurd dialogues or something like this. And the third thing is that I'm, and also Chun Sue, who is here today, we are labeled as Germans, so we have to say we are from Germany, but that's not true. I mean, that's true, but this is the problem with Germany. I mean, there are a lot of people living there, but they're not really Germans. I mean, who is German today anyway? This is really a very important question, and I think that everything what I'm writing or what I'm concerned in all my practice, artistic or scientific and activistic practice, has something to do with this construction of nation state, of belonging, identity, and all the narrations of this nations, and who's part of it, who's not. So that's why, there the problem begins. But yeah, I say I'm from Germany, but I always also have to add that I was born into a Turkish family in Germany. So that I think this is important to just to mention, because for those who don't know this, but in the 60s in Germany there was a huge mass migration to Germany, and these were not academics or so. These were really unskilled workers from a lot of different countries. Germany needed this people, and that's how my father came from Turkey to Germany, and that's how I was born there. So I was born in a family which we are not a literary educated family. And that's why I'm really very proud that I have a book with a lot of, with a lot of pictures, sorry. For also, because also for my parents it's just nice, because they would never read in German. Pictures, and that's also nice. And and this book is a selection of texts from my blog, which I run and founded with a colleague of mine. He is also children of guest workers. So we had both these complexes of being very poor and not from these educated families. So after studying, at least this we succeeded. After studying, we had this blog, Migrantenstadel. Migrantenstadel means something like, in dialect, it means something like a migrant town, I would say. It's a dialect in Bavarian German, and it deals with everything what has to do with migration and nation state, as I told you before. So okay, then I'm going to read. Maybe just to one thing more, because I think the most things I write are inspired by the Dada movement. The Dada movement, you will know them. What inspired me with them or on them, about them, was that they had this anti attitude also to art or to anything else, and I as I don't have this, I cannot relate to so much traditions or so. So this was something what I could relate to, and that's why I think I'm very much into writing manifestos or so, and that's why I will start with a manifesto. And I realized it has a lot of humor, which is maybe a little bit difficult to understand here, but what can I do? I have to read it. Okay, it's called Integrate Our Asses. Is there anyone who's talking German besides the few people here I know already? Nobody. Is there? Oh, there's someone. Oh my God. Okay, then for you, it's in German, integriert uns am Arsch. It sounds much more passionate. Okay, integrate our asses. Brothers and sisters, they've tried to tell us that we must learn German. That's true, but we don't want to. They've tried to tell us that we must integrate. That's true, but we don't want to. For decades, they've tried to tell us we must go home someday. Even if that's true, we don't want to. And even if, then everyone else should too, because we are not the only goddamn guests on this goddamn earth. We no longer want the culture festivals they organize for us. We no longer want to be guests or guest workers or token Turks in this Migrantenstadel, because this, brothers and sisters, is our society, and we have the right to decide the rules of our society and not just to choose between cutting hair in a barber shop or becoming dental hygienists. Why, I ask you, why should we speak to each other in only one language? They've tried to tell us that most people in Germany speak German. What kind of bull kebab is that? And if it turns out most people do speak German, which I doubt and even think it is nonsense, then we must have the right to decide for ourselves. I don't want to speak only German, and I don't want my two parrots, Süleyman and Süleyha, to speak German if they don't expressly want to, and my parents don't want to. But the reality, I hear those party dummies yell, the reality happens to be this. But just because what they say is true doesn't mean we have to believe it. Why should we stand by as the monoculture decides the rules of society? Do we only care whether we will drive a Mercedes or a BMW back to home to Turkey? Whether we eat döner kebab or pork hawks before some Sarrazin politicians cauterizes our brain matter? No, no, no. In Turkish, kesinlikle no. When we speak, we demand autonomy from the world. When we speak, we don't simply speak German. How is that supposed to work? No, we design our language again and again, change and challenge by not speaking the way we should and must, but the way we want and can if they would let us. There is a place. Brothers and sisters, there is a place. You know, I mean the Migrantstadel. The Migrantstadel is the place where German potatoes encounter other creatures. And it's also the place where they both lose their language in holy integration. The Migrantstadel is the Mecca of migration. What are migrants but Babylonic ambassadors of paradise? What we demand in Migrantstadel. First, that passports grow on trees, that headscarves veil yet charm, that Frontex, don't know if you know Frontex, is the surveillance in the EU borders, the police around the EU borders, that Frontex become an eco-certified panty liner company, that fragrant rose water pour out of bathroom faucets, that all people migrate, be it only in dreams, that a doner kebab a day keeps the doctor away, with and without garlic, that deportation notices dissolve into thin air even before they are written, that country borders no longer matter anywhere, and that everyone speaks in many languages, those they like best. Brothers and sisters, the migrant style is impossibly impossible and therefore possible. Logic. There is no reason to believe me, so do it please anyway. In the name of the Ö, the Ü, the Döner, Deutschland, the Dürüm and Don Juan, the migranten style lives despite everything and thanks to it all. It's really very hard integration laws in Germany, and there is an integration imperative which is always addressed to all this. They're called still foreigners or new Germans or whatever. So I really hate this integration discourses, and this was my final bill with this discourse. Okay, I will read one short reflection or so, and that is about also some situation in Germany, because we have this as maybe here as well, because I heard about this murders in Churchill here some years ago, and in Germany there is also a really anti-Muslim racism going on. And at the same time, we have a very nice alliance between people who were raised up in Muslim families, as I have been, for example. I mean, I'm not practicing, but I somehow part of me. And there is a big, nice alliance between us and descendants of Jewish people there. And this is somehow dedicated to this alliance. So it's called Latest Report from the Outskirts, Part 2. Today, on the way from Line to West End, two men dressed in black standing on the corner of Fürstenrieder Straße and Gotthardstraße were handing out flyers, the content of which I could not see because I was standing across the street. But due to the media effective sign that one of the men seemed to have made and that hung around his neck, I could read the writing, "No mosque at Stachus Square," which to me at first seemed like a statement of facts, because there is in fact no mosque at Stachus Square. But after observing the scenery for a while where the man talked to passers-by, I realized that this was not in fact a statement of facts, but a slogan that is an appeal to oppose the possibly planned construction of a mosque at Stachus Square, which in turn reminded me that the construction of a synagogue, you say synagogue, between Sendlinger Tor and Marienplatz a few years ago had also driven a few jumping jacks onto the streets who distributed flyers saying "No synagogue at Jakobsplatz," which they were right about once again, for there was in fact no synagogue at Jakobsplatz yet. And soon after the guys handed out their flyers, the synagogue was finally built, which is why today I am coming to the conclusion that soon there will be a mosque at Stachus Square. Observations about causalities. Yeah. Okay. Do I have time for two further texts? Video tip or one or two short ones? Okay. Second. Okay, I just a short introduction. I worked the last years very much in the performing arts field. I this happened because the free but also the institutional theater scene in Germany nowadays wants to be really political relevant, and they want to leave this black box and this stage and very classical things, and they also want to have new narratives and a new canon and so on. So they were leaving a little bit their places and were going out into the city, and of course to places where there are a lot of migrants, you know, to really find the real reality outside there, and leaving their Elfenbeinturm.
Ivory Tower.
Ivory Tower. Yes, they want to leave the Ivory Tower, but of course it's not so easy. I mean, yeah, in the last years there happened a lot, and there were a lot of struggles, and I also had my struggles in these institutions. They are still, I mean, they want to change something, but still it's really not easy. So again, I needed to write something about this, and this is that's it. Manifesto of the Extra Parliamentary Theatre Opposition. SPECTRA is haunting the cultural sector, the spectre of feminist killjoys. No matter where we show up, we leave behind a bloody battlefield and bent noses, white tears and appalled faces. We don't want crumbs, we want the whole bakery. We are the Extra Parliamentary Theatre Opposition. We have no Maserati under our asses, just a vagina on our tongues. So 14 points I have. First, the following manifesto is for the reality to which we hold up no mirror but shaped with a hammer. First, theatre doesn't happen only when there is a play in the evening. Theatre is always happening. German potato mashing is part of the basic skill set of new Germans, theatre makers, and must be accepted into the canon. Men who lecture women of color must kill a dog, one-handed, blindfolded. Makes sense, right? White index fingers that think they are newly discovering migrant culturescapes, much like Columbus did with America in his days, must search for the path into their own body openings with a 2-month residency permit and conduct research there for some time. Yeah, I really had to laugh about this idea of my brain. Okay, there must be clarity about the fact that Almans, that's how we new Germans call the old Germans, there must be clarity about the fact that Almans who can't utter 5 sentences in one of the migrant minorities' language groups cannot develop innovative forms of theatre. Full bidet coverage in all theatre bathrooms, minimum requirement, watering cans and toilet paper offered in equal measure. Freshly brewed tea must be established as basic equipment in all cultural institutions. And for this, I have also just printed one very important. So for everyone who does not know what I mean when I say freshly brewed tea, it's this one. I don't know. It's people drink it all over the world in this very small glasses. In Turkey, that's very common. So yeah, in Germany, we don't have, in Munich, in my hometown, we don't have any place where this is served. That's why freshly brewed tea must be established as basic equipment in all cultural institutions. Radical realities in theatre must also be radically cared for. Don't forget to have fun. Men appearing in theatres mansplaining are to be subjected to 3-hour-long vagina monologues. No turning back on post-migrant perspectives until post-migrant perspectives become totally mainstream. Double salaries for the entire cleaning staff in theatres because their performance has never been duly honored. Art and cultural institutions where diversity is revealed to be an optical illusion are obliged to perform weekly folkloric dances in the foyer with the entire management staff. On these occasions, feminist killjoys and all their friends are entitled to boundless amounts of champagne in the theater boxes. This manifesto makes no claim to completeness. Additional comments, commentary additions, entire sentence, half sentences, sentence parts, or part sentences are well as spare parts are welcome anytime. I'm done.
Follow that. Our final reader is Chun Sue. She lives in Germany, but she was born in the People's Republic of China. She's a fiction writer, poet, and she became widely known with her iconic 2002 novel, Beijing Doll, which is now translated into many languages. And as you may know, this is the book that Ben from Rozz-Tox read when he was in China at that time. Thanks, Ben. She's since published 5 additional novels, most recently the autobiographical Milk Tea in 2019, 3 poetry collections, and books of essays. A frequent presence at literary festivals and art residencies in Europe, she also publishes in Chinese literary magazines. Her participation in the IWP Fall Residency is courtesy of the Paul and Wale Engel Fund. Thank you.
Hi, I feel very good because this bar is very cool. It reminds me about Beijing. That's rock and roll bars. First of all, I want to play 2 videos of I reading my poems. So okay. Yeah, so you can talk and drink. We don't need to so seriously, okay? And later I will back.
总有什么能证明他就是我。我已经忘了当时的表情和心态，我像是漂浮在照片里，没有什么能证明当时笑的是我。你总能找出时间的、空间的破绽，亦或时间、空间的破绽，矛头清晰地指向我。请把用过的东西还给我，请把偷走的时间还给我。是什么让我活得如此不鲜明，如此摇晃？是什么让当时的我做出那个无辜的表情？2002年6月25日。
Here's another one. and it's 10 minutes, so relax. Oh, relax. Okay.
这座城市我无法做到无坚不摧。我如影子一般穿行在这空荡荡的城市，我路过空空如也、满写着“春晖”字样的橱窗，路过路灯杆上小广告，路过熊猫骑士，一只白色的猫，仔细看有蓝色双眸。为防止被雨水淋湿，还特地塑料薄膜。这只猫我每天都会看见，它被贴在花旁边的书架栏上，在垃圾箱下侧，它一如既往，白色像雪，优雅、纯洁、庄重，蓝色双眸，
望着每个望着他的2021年9月3日。睡前提问：你认为你是一个知识分子吗？你认为你是一个存在主义者吗？你认为你喜欢吃炸酱面吗？你认为你收藏古董吗？你认为你时尚吗？你认为你比当初进步了吗？你认为你爱国吗？你认为你爱真理吗？你认为你敢说实话吗？你认为你不怕被报复吗？你认为你是个好作家吗？你认为你是个好诗人吗？你认为你是个好母亲吗？你认为你是个好父亲吗？你认为你爱我吗？你认为你道德吗？你认为微博促进了中国进步吗？妈，你认为他们是教主吗？你认为你是脑残粉吗？你认为有些事不能说吗？你认为有些人不能惹吗？你认为这本小说是你的自传吗？你认为你有才华吗？你认为你的东西能留下来吗？你认为你心胸宽大吗？你认为你谁都对得起吗？你认为你负责任吗？你认为你守规矩吗？你认为你问心无愧吗？你认为你自以为是吗？你认为你想报复吗？你认为你怕死吗？你认为你讨人喜欢吗？你认为你招人讨厌吗？你认为你还有明天吗？你认为你落伍了吗？你认为你孤独吗？你认为你写的是诗吗？搞疯一个人，就让他自己问自己。2012。Faire semblant de regarder. Des mots que j'essaie d'articuler. J'entends une phrase et mon cœur se bat. Le mot dire me laisse indifférente. J'ai l'habitude de mémoire pleine de ces détails-là. Mes souvenirs, oh, c'est pour que de l'autre. La forêt, moi et mes amis. En ombre dispersée. Comme les champignons après la pluie. Nous sommes à la recherche d'une herbe spéciale qui se tourne vers le soleil. Je me tiens en face d'eux et porte une robe. Je ne m'en souviens plus. Était-ce ce jour-là que nous avions rencontré par hasard un groupe de lycéens en pleine sortie scolaire? Le soleil, voilà. Nous écrase. Le ruisseau, voilà, est tracé. Et mes souvenirs de jeunesse se suspendent, disparaissent. 18 janvier 2017。我习惯那些少年时记忆里的东西。我习惯那些少年时记忆里的东西，比如美式口音，比如一些单词。我听到 sweetheart 会心一暖，听到 dear 就毫无感觉。我习惯那些被嵌进记忆里的东西，它们组成了我的回忆。那雾气蒙蒙的早晨，森林，我和同学们如蘑菇一样散开，寻找一种特别的草。阳光射在我前面同学的裙子上，我已不记得我们是否还遇到了学高年级外校的同学。阳光哗啦啦，溪水也哗啦啦。 我少年时的戏戛然而止。2016年，再读一首吧。我们今晚的晚饭。你一般来西湖市场鸡蛋、香肠、米饭。新相识的朋友来家里做客，这是我们今晚的晚饭。香肠是他的朋友从国内带来的。自我来国里1年，我变得务实了许多。不务实不行啊，样样都要花钱。匮乏，蔬菜少，肉多，物少，二手相机多。我只有自己2只手，写东西不怎么挣钱。我除了会花钱和写东西，可什么都不会啊。这可是资本主义国家，没有钱，分分钟睡大街呀。他和我差不多，他在找工作。这样的晚饭，我们都已心满意足。突然，我在微博上看到一条视频，一个朝鲜女人的故事。我奶奶去世的时候，不是想吃土豆吗？可那些猪都可以吃的土豆，为什么我们家就没有？对我来说，那个是来中国以后最大的打击。我不打算打开看了，有这么几句就够了。无论那个受访者说什么，我都不打算打开看。朋友走后，我打开冰箱，看看今晚还剩下什么，并且感恩。Le dîner du soir. Le chou, des œufs à la tomate, de la saucisse et du riz. Ma amie est venue à la maison à mon invitation. C'est notre dîner ce soir. Et la saucisse est pour mon amie. Elle vient boire des choux. Arrivée seule à Berlin, il y a 1 an déjà. Je donne tous mes soins à ce qui est essentiel. Rien de trop, pas d'excès. Rien n'est gratuit ici. Il faut moins de légumes, de viande, aucune extravagance. Juste un appareil photo de passion. Je suis l'heureuse propriétaire de 2 mains pour écrire. Et non plus pour dépenser. Il n'achète plus rien, il me fait faire écrire. Mais je n'y arrive pas. Dans ce pays capitaliste, je n'ai plus qu'à m'en aller dormir dans un grand rue. Elle et moi, on s'est trouvés. Elle est à la recherche d'un emploi avec un appareil dîner, un pareil dîner. Nous sommes vraiment complets. Subitement, je tombe sur une vidéo d'Internet. Une Coréenne raconte son histoire. Quand ma grand-mère est morte, elle n'avait donc pas même de patates à manger. Même les pauvres mangeaient des patates. Alors pourquoi notre famille en est-elle privée? Selon moi, c'est le libérer de tout que nous a porté la Chine. Je n'ai pas envie d'en regarder davantage. C'est quelque chose me suffit. Peu importe ce que cette femme a continué à raconter, je n'ai pas envie d'en regarder davantage. Quand mon ami s'en va, nous, on a toujours avec. Je regarde ce qu'il fait pour le match. Et puis, il m'a dit mon gratitude. Tradition du Nicolas, 虽然这首诗我觉得不是我最好的诗，但是它确实写了我当时这段时间的真实感受。我当时真的看到这个新闻了，然后我看到我就受不了了，你知道吗？然后因为那个朝鲜，因为他们那种这种感觉特别触动人心，你知道吗？然后看了之后顿时觉得挺难受的，然后就是。
How many minutes do we have? Do I have? Yes. Do I have 5 minutes? Then I'd like to read one poem. Lighting a candle for a bath. Most of the time, I feel ashamed. I encounter bad males most of the time. Please don't take out our photos and look at them again and again. Full moon nights always remind me of the muse. Domestic violence and the short life love stories. Long hair and blue eyes, we slapped each other, rolling around in a hotel bed, sleeping cigarette ash all over the floor. What an unexpected night. A long-awaited phrase without no sex, only kisses. Of course, he must disappear. He understands and left first, leaving behind a short trip and a novel. I don't trust those who lie, and at the same time, I don't not forgive myself. Discontent with life makes me beautiful. Thinking of all this excitingly, thinking of Allen Ginsberg's inner soda and a lot of baskets outside the window. Pulling down the petals of red roses before a man inserts his prick. We put those rose petals in the vagina. I'd like to write another poem in Chinese. Just I think we at least have three person can understand Chinese. Okay, 4. That's I really miss my mother language. It's 3 years I haven't been back to China. Oh, I'm living in Berlin now, but yeah, I don't speak Germany a lot. Yeah. 上午经过长安街，弟弟说：“爸，长安街到了，好好看看吧。”这就是你走了20多年的长安街。我坐在弟弟和爸爸中间，差点哭出来。我这才知道为什么我喜欢长安街。车缓缓经过军事博物馆，经过中南海的红墙，经过新华门。爸爸已经扫成了一盒骨灰，坐在我们中间，不占太多空间。车过天安门，我看到他站在广场上看我们经过。怎么也写不好你这个农民的儿子。我也生在农村，我也是个农民的儿子。我给你放了一晚上的军歌，嚎啕大哭，那也都是我喜欢的。Passing by Chang'an Street in the morning. My younger brother says, Papa, here's Chang'an Street. Take a look at it. Here is a street you had walked across for over 20 years. I'm sitting between Papa and the younger brother on the verge of tears. Finally, I know why I like Chang'an Street. The car slowly passes by the military museum, the red walls of Zhongnanhai, and the Xinhua Gate. Papa fit in a smallish box now between us. Does not copy much space. We pass the Tiananmen Gate. I see him standing on the square, watching us while we are moving. Why is it so hard to write about you? The son of a peasant. I was born in a village, also a child of a peasant. Playing military songs for you all night, crying heavily. Those are my favorite as well. Thank you. Thank you for my translation. And, my friends in America and this bar. I like here.
Give it up one more time for our terrific readers. You know, the German American Heritage Center. One quick final announcement before we bounce out. So 1 week from pretty much exactly from right now, that we'll be here for another SPECTRA reading, a very special SPECTRA reading. I know some people in here know Skylar Alexander, right? Yeah, Skylar's the coolest. And she just put out a book earlier this year on Forklift Books called Searching for Petco. And so we are going to party here for that. She's reading certifiable genius Lauren Haldeman, who also just released a graphic novel called Team Photograph. We'll also be reading from said graphic novel with graphics. Kaylee She Cool, who is super dope, will be reading, and then some other clown shoes dude that looks a lot like me will also be reading. It will also, importantly, be the first SPECTRA that I don't host at all, because it will be hosted by two members of the Bowdy Bowdy Ha Ha burlesque troupe from Iowa City. Yes, I've never been to a reading like that, and so I'm betting you probably haven't either. So you should probably come. This is gonna be fucking amazing. All right. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to let you hip you all to that. Come check that out. There's a big surprise. There's a super dope show here tomorrow night. So if you're in town, you should come back, and just always come back here. Like the mantra. Get food, get drink, enjoy each other's company. Thank you all so much. Thank you all again for making the trip. We love y'all. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'd like to find this on internet.